going to study the play The Way of the World by William Congreve. This play was showcased in the year 1700 and is considered to be an important play of the Restoration period. Now, talking about the Restoration period, what's the Restoration period? The period between 1660 to 1700 is considered to be the Restoration age for English literature. And before this period, from 1642, there was no growth of English drama because theatres were banned in England. There was the Puritan Revolution, the Puritan philosophy that we are born with sins. The purpose of birth is to repent for the sins, and therefore Puritans believed in abstaining from all pleasure, abstaining from all sorts of entertainment. So they shut down the theatres, no dramas were written, and when Charles II, the king, was sent into exile to France. And in 1660, Charles II returned, and that's when the Restoration started. That's when the king's throne was restored, and that's why it's called the Restoration age. And when Charles II returned, he had returned with a taste for senseless and immoral pleasures from France, and he did want the theatres and drama and such entertainment to start. So by 1663, he signed orders that all the theatres will reopen, and once they reopened, the drama of this age was full of immorality. The drama of this age was full of adulterous relationships like extramarital affairs, and now the men and women who would come out to watch the plays, they would come to show off their new clothes and talk about the latest scandals, do gossip. They were obsessed with fashion, and the same, since that was the mood of the day, the same material was provided by the stage as well. So that's what the dramatists wrote. And apart from fashions and apart from adulterous relationships, these plays contained a comedy of manners. Like in The Way of the World as well, we'll see certain characters displaying this characteristic of comedy of manners. And apart from this, there is the thing about legacy issues, because the plays of this period show us that how money had become an important consideration even in relationships. The marital considerations were based upon the estate, the property a person owned, and not just this, but people would even make conspiracies to acquire, to manipulate documents, to illegally acquire something. So obsession with fashion, gossip, and scandals, and comedy of manners, illicit relationships, and legacy issues. These were the characteristics of all Restoration plays, and The Way of the World has all these characteristics in ample amount and in a very complex way. So let us begin the play The Way of the World. Who is related to whom in Way of the World is a question which often confuses the readers. So let's clear that out. At the center, consider we have Lady Wishfort. Now, Lady Wishfort is a widow, and she has two girls under her. One is her daughter, Mrs. Fennel, Arabella Fennel, and the other is her niece, that is the heroine of the play, Millamant. Now, talking about her daughter, Mrs. Fennel is currently married to Mr. Fennel. And before she was married to Mr. Fennel, she was married to someone else who died, and she was a widow. And while she was a widow, she had an affair with Mirabell, the hero of the play. But this affair ended in her pregnancy, and then Mirabell got her married to Mr. Fennel. Now we don't know that why did Mirabell himself marry Mrs. Fennel when they both are such good friends even after their affair has got over. So during the play we come to know that Mrs. Fennel and Mirabell are good friends even after their affair, and Mrs. Fennel is in fact Mirabell's confidant in his entire plan to marry Millamant. So why at that time, to save her reputation, he got her married to Mr. Fennel and himself did not marry her, that we do not know. Those are the loose ends of the play which are often criticized by the literary critics in this play, and Mr. Fenol, her husband, has an affair with Mrs. Marwood, who is their friend. All these are all friends: Mirabel, Mrs. Marwood, Lady Wishford. They are a friend circle. So Mr. Fenol has an affair with Mrs. Marwood, and Mrs. Marwood is herself a widow. And before she had this affair with Mr. Fenol, she was the mistress of Mirabel. Now, Mirabel, the hero, is shown to be a womanizer who has now ultimately come and settled down upon one woman, that is Millamant. But earlier he had a lot of affairs, as we can see. He had an affair with Mrs. Fenol, he had an affair with Mrs. Marwood, and now he wants to marry Millamant. Now, talking about the suitors of Millamant. So Millamant doesn't just have Mirabel as one suitor, she has two other suitors. One is Wilful Whitwood, that's the full name of the guy, Wilful Whitwood, and the other is Petulant. Now these both are funny characters because they are just made to look, Mirabel look superior in the play because they talk nonsense things, and because of them the hero Mirabel shines even more. Now Whitwood has a half brother who's Sir Wilful Whitwood, so we'll call him Sir Wilful for the sake of clarity. So Sir Wilful is a man living in the countryside, and he is going to visit Lady Wishford, and Lady Wishford wants to fix Sir Wilful with Millamant. There is one more minor character, that's Betty. She comes in the beginning of the play. She is not a very major character. She is a waitress at the chocolate house, and there are three servants in the play who are major servants. One is Waitwell, who is actually playing the impostor of Sir Roland. So Sir Roland is actually no person, it's a made up character by Mirabel. So Waitwell disguises himself in a knight's armor and goes to meet Lady Wishford as Sir Roland. So Waitwell is important because he plays Sir Roland. And then Waitwell, in the very beginning of the play, is secretly married on one morning to Foible, and Foible is the maid of Lady Wishford. Waitwell is the servant of Mirabel. Foible is the maid of Lady Wishford, and they both are married secretly. And Foible is a very clever person, and throughout the play she plays an important role in helping Mirabel implement his plan, because she thinks that whoever gets on the money side, she'll get to win that person's favor. So she is smart in that way. And the other servant is Mincing, who's not very smart. Mincing is Millamant's assistant, her maid, her lady in waiting, and Mincing and Foible play an important part at the end when they come as witnesses to the affair of Mrs. Marwood and Mr. Fenol. So that's it for the characters of The Way of the World.